Right. Welcome to the bi-monthly Sierra Interactive Mastermind, our second one of the year. Can't believe that already. 2024 is on its way. And we're going to kind of keep on our theme today of talking about sellers and acquiring listings in today's market. As everything that we talked about a little bit last week about the changes and that things that are going on, it's really a more and more important focus for everyone in their business as we move forward. So, I'm Scott DeRuiter with Sierra Interactive, the director of channel sales, and today I'm joined by a familiar face, Buddy Blake. Buddy's been on our mastermind several times with Robert Sagers in the past. Buddy, why don't you introduce yourself? I know you're in Wilmington, North Carolina, so why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your background?
My name is Buddy Blake. I've been with you guys since 2016, 17, something like that. I run a team now. I owned several Remax brokerages for our offices for about 13 years. And so I've kind of sold my practice, and now I'm back to running my team and doing some training and just some private. I don't even like the word coaching. I just more masterminding, in some with other agents outside of our area and inside of our area, because
Yeah.
I like to talk. That's how I learn. I mean, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I like tech, but I'm older. I was an early adopter. Literally, I was back when there was advanced access and Real Pro systems, back when those were the first two kind of IDX websites that were out there. And so I love tech, but I also have come to believe that high tech cannot replace high touch. And I think
Which
that's where,
we're going to get into. I think that's really kind of the theme of what we're going to talk about today. Yes.
which is where I feel like our industry and a lot of industries has fallen into, especially over the abnormal years of COVID.
Yeah, you're right. There was definitely heavy reliance. So, excuse me. So, go ahead and drop in the text box, guys, chat box, where you're calling in from, where you're listening in from today. And so I want to roll out a poll. It's kind of what I like to do at the beginning, kind of start to set the tone. And the first thing we're going to ask today is really, what is the best way to communicate with potential seller leads, in today's market? I mean, is it via text? Is that where most people respond to? Is it some kind of a personalized outreach? Is it sending them home value update reports, AVMs, or, perhaps it's, sending them a drip campaign with just selling tips, right? And then really part B of that question would be, how often do you need to touch base with those people? Is it 4 times a year, 12 times a year, 24 times a year, 36 times a year, right? So go ahead and vote there. Obviously, me and Buddy can't vote as far as hosts, but you can, and we'll get back to those results in a little bit as we kind of move forward here. So, Buddy, let's talk a little bit about put some context around this. You had a real eye-opening experience, kind of a real kick in the butt experience, if I would say, when you started to work with a company called Highfellow, which Sierra Interactive integrates here with really well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you discovered and kind of what led you to where we're doing today?
Well, first off, I don't want to take credit for the discovery. I mean, Ryan Young and they rolled a feature out. It's called Real Seller Leads. And, there's 1,000 home value systems. And we were an early adopter of HomeBot, back when they first kind of got going, and when they would allow you to, we were a beta tester when then they shut their Zapier down. So we jumped in with Highfellow, and what they do is it's not so much a lead generation system, but it's a lead engagement. We took our 30, 40,000 leads and put it into their system, and they started reaching out, asking folks if, sending engaging emails and things like that. And all of a sudden, people started filling out these forms, giving us a little more information. And what's really nice with Sierra, the integration between the two, in our notes, we're able to see whenever everybody looks at a home value, whenever they do these things in Highfellow, we're able to see it in our Sierra system.
Which is
And then,
awesome. Single place of truth, single source of truth for that data.
right. And then you can set behavioral things up so that all of a sudden, if somebody hadn't been on in 3 months and they start looking at their home value 3 days in a row, you know, there's something going on in their life.
Sure.
But the real thing that made me angry and frustrating, and it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror like this, because your first instinct is to get pissed off at the customer. They send out these real seller notifications where every morning I get an email whenever somebody that's in my database, okay, lists their house in the MLS system, whether it's with us or whether it's with another broker. And we started, I guess, early November, we started tracking it. And we started deconstructing this because the first thing is I got pissed off. This person's been in my system since 2018. We've been sending them market updates. But then we started literally going one by one, because we're getting 5, 6, 7, 8 of these a day.
I mean, so you're getting 5, 6, 7, 8 notifications that one of these 30,000 folks that are in your database has now listed their home, but they didn't list it with you.
That's exactly right. And so, you know, first thing is, as an agent, we want to get mad at the customer. We want to get mad at the other agent. But I took an approach whenever I don't get a listing, or I don't get a buyer, or I don't get a job, or whatever it is, you know, my attitude is, you know what, let's do a little self-reflection and let's look at our system. So, you know, I started deconstructing, and me and my admin, Abby, I said, I want a spreadsheet. I want every single one of these tracked, and I want to know what they did, what we did, how many times we went through this whole thing. What were we doing? What were the common things? And let's find the common thing that we missed. Okay. And we came down to, these people had market updates set. And the reality is a lot of them weren't firing. Well, we had a lot of e-alerts set, but a lot of them aren't firing because a lot of us included, haven't reset our e-alerts pre-COVID. So in other words, if you've got a search set up for up to 200,000 in my market, well, that property doesn't exist anymore.
Right. So what you're saying is that the e-alerts weren't broken. It was the fact there was no matching properties in that price range any longer. So there was no new data to send them. No new alert.
So if you've got that, or if there's no home sales data going out, the market updates aren't working. So what happens is the systems are working, but there's not enough data to fire them off. So then what happens? It goes 12 months and and it's auto unsubscribe. So we've got all these people that we thought were getting this stuff, looking at it and doing all this. And we started looking at it like, this hasn't gone out in months. These people haven't clicked it ever in some cases. And then the reality just really sunk in. We would love to think, because we have our own website, that everybody's searching our website. But the reality is, you can't assume that if they're not on your website, that they're not looking at real estate. They're probably unfortunately, they're probably on Zillow.
Right. So, or some other portal for that nature. So number one, you realize that you weren't touching them as you thought you were touching them, right? What other discoveries did you come out of this with?
We've ran through all the Sierra partners we've been through. The Hatches, the GGMSs are all awesome. But we've been through every system. We have automated them. We have dropped slide dial messages. We have emailed. We've sent everything in their brother. Over and over, we've had them on multiple action plans. You know, every shiny object that comes along, we have done it. And they might have opened them or might not have opened them, but most of these people never responded to us on anything, even though we were sending them all kinds of stuff. Now, keep this in mind. We also had ISA teams calling. We were calling these people. We were leaving messages. We were sending text messages. We were doing all the...
What percentage of these folks did you call? Did you ever get down to an actual number of the percentage of the leads that you called?
94% of the people that did not list with us were called at least 3 times. Okay? So it's not that we didn't call them. It's not that we didn't text them. It's not we didn't email them. It's not we didn't do a market update. It's not that my agents did everything that we taught them to do. But I think in today's world, the problem is, for every Buddy Blake that's out there, with a customer, we're lost in this vast windshield of bugs because there's hundreds of other agents that are using the same lead sources, that are doing PPC, that are doing Facebook, that are doing this. We just get lost.
Well,
So,
and let me just pause you there and be like, you're right, from an agent's paradigm, and they're touching these seller leads. I mean, they don't know how many more agents are in their inbox. They don't know how many more market value updates they're getting. I mean, we know that people just don't go to one place. They look at multiple different places. So they probably registered at those different places, and hence they're getting, those multiple touches. So yeah, so let's just do this real quick. So then let me just go ahead and roll out some polls here just to see, like, so we asked the question just before we get in any deeper, what's the best way to communicate with the, potential sellers today? Well, 11% said text message, 44% said personal outreach, another 44% said home value updates, and then none said home selling email drip campaigns. So I think everyone realizes that the stock stuff that is sent out doesn't work. So perfect. That's good. And then, just to go ahead and talk about the follow-up times, our audience said that, 56% of them said that going at least 12 times per year or once a month. And then the other 44% said at least 36 times. So just to kind of give you a feel for what our audience is thinking. So let's, keep going then. So, all right. So you did all these things, you called them, you've touched them, your market values, you're a bug on the windshield. So now what? Now that you've discovered this, you deconstructed it, where do you go now?
well, we stepped back and we said, okay, if we're this person, and keep in mind, these aren't leads, these are people, these are families, these are people going through life change events. So if I'm Scott and I just listed my house, probably 2 to 4 weeks before that, I was in a decision process of what I was going to do. So I started looking through, and what I wanted to see, what was my proof of life that I existed in this person's life? What would have possibly made them think of me? Now, keep in mind, I do a big radio campaign, big billboard campaign. I've been doing it here for a long time outside of that stuff. So it's not a matter that they haven't heard of me. So I do Monday morning coffee and email. So it's not a matter that we are not hitting them. We're hitting them everywhere you can. But the funniest thing is, then we realized 94% of the people never physically received one thing from us. Not a note card.
When you say physically, you mean
mail.
Something you can touch, mail.
I mean mail, I mean drop off, I mean whatever it takes. I mean, when I started our business, we get a home value in the old days when we had guaranteedsale.com. I'm sure it's wrong. We used to take a FedEx, go grab a bunch of FedEx envelopes and go put a CMA, just a real simple pre-listing pack, in that FedEx and drop it at their door.
Oh, so you're the one that made the cost of FedEx go up because
I am the one, because we tore up their envelopes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
hey, don't do this at home. If you're listening at home, don't go to your local.
No, you don't need to do that.
Their envelopes.
But what we did do is we really took a hard, fast look about 30 days ago in December. Once we crossed 100 people, analyzed 100 people, we came to the conclusion we've got to get physical. We've got to show these people that we exist, because the reason I feel like we're a pretty high level operating team.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I have to just let people know, your Monday morning coffee is basically a video blog of, important information going on in your local market. You have a presence on YouTube or Vimeo. You're not just idle by there, just sending text messages. You're taking it to the next level. So I want to give people context of what you are doing. So keep going.
Well, and so when people are thinking about selling their house now, it's life change events. They don't, in the old days, you used to plan it out a long time. Now it's job loss, it's death, it's need to move to independent living, is a whole lot of things. So you got to figure out how to be top of mind. And I don't think that we can do that with just relying electronically anymore. It has to be a part of it. I mean, truthfully, the real value of, for instance, Sierra for us is help us understand better who's got the hand raised the highest, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's your what you're talking about. Just for the audience, it's our behavioral triggers, and
right.
those behavioral triggers are customizable, so you get notified when someone returns to the site, clicks on their property value, et cetera, et cetera. So keep going.
Well, you have to reach out and call them, but our answer right now is about 1 in 10. It's tough. I mean, I don't like getting calls, and answering it. I don't know. I mean, I get that. Um, but you still got to attempt to and make some conversations because you got to figure a way to do it. But the simple thing of getting in front of them with a note card, a CMA or something, and I'm not talking about blasting neighborhoods with farming. I'm
Mhm.
not talking about sending recipes out. I'm talking about being different, and so that giving them something that they know wasn't automated. Like for a long time, we were using Zapier to do thanks.io cards where it would send out a handwritten note card with a Starbucks thing and all this. But you know what? Today's consumer, they understand what's automated and what's not automated.
Mhm.
So we said, okay, it's going to take time and energy because we can't scale this. But the fact that it takes time and energy and it can't be scaled at a high level is our advantage. Okay. Because
Sure.
we've all of a sudden become a special forces versus a big army.
Yeah,
So
you're a SEAL team with kind of that SWOT analysis as opposed to SWAT team as opposed to, like you said, an army. It makes sense.
so now we've started and it's morphed and we're happy to share everything. Yep, you guys have our playbook, kind of what we're doing, and it changes the playbook. But I mean, literally, I'll give an example. If somebody does a home value, comes back and relooks at a home value, or anything that gives any signal, behavioral signal, they might be a potential seller, this goes out to them. Okay. This is a mailer. You can see the mailing address, whoops, right there. And it's got something that would at least make them think it has their neighborhood, for instance, in the name. And then on the back, this happens to be something one of our agents just sold, and we are doing a test farming around it, kind of 50 houses right around it, and it was multiple offers. But there's information in it that they're going to be like, whoa, this is different. This isn't some postcard with the agent says, hi, I sell the most homes.
Yeah.
I guarantee to sell your house in 27 days, or I'll
Yes.
buy it myself. It's not the promotional, typical thing.
Yeah.
And
So what
then,
this is, can I just kind of put a little phraseology on this? Is it's a pattern interrupt. And if
right,
anybody knows anything about NLP, when you're in a conversation or in a dialogue and you want to change the course of the dialogue, you have to do what's called pattern interrupt. And so what you're doing is you're kind of interrupting the pattern of all this emails and text and generic postcards and and things that they get in the mail with something of real value to catch their eye.
I don't know if pattern interrupt. I think it's more of reinforcement because all of a sudden, when they get that, they're going to be like, whoa, that's the guy I heard on the radio. Oh, whoa, that's
Mm.
the guy that been sending me the email, spamming me with his email every Monday. So then we put in, we ran it and we tested for postage. I mean, it costs us about $2 a piece
Mhm.
outside of labor. All right. I mean, they're going to get this. They're going to get all of this stuff. They're going to get pricing strategy with a QR code where they scan and it goes to my blog. They're going to get, the whole, like there's one in here. This has been our most effective one, actually. It's what do I do?
Right, which I
If
definitely want to talk to you. I have that on our list to talk about that actual piece that you put together, which is smart because one of the things that people are asking themselves is, where do I go? What can I buy? What do I do next? Right?
right, they want to sell their house, but they don't know where they're going to go because there's not much inventory, or they don't really know what's next, or they're scared of the interest rate. Well, the interest rate is becoming less of an effect. And, across the country, the new home builders are getting ready to unleash a record number of housing come spring and summer that's being under construction right now everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
and the reason why we all know this is because of all the building permits and
yep,
all of the pipeline that we see that's coming along from that perspective. And they've been holding back. The builders have been holding back to see what was going on with the economy And now they see this as a perfect opportunity to bring it all to market. So you're absolutely right. I've seen the same statistics.
Oh, absolutely. So we've been going to the builders and basically offering to, because they need these people to sell the houses too, so they can close. So we go and start working out relationships again with builders, but that's a whole different conversation.
We can have a
But
whole mastermind on just that strategy. So I love it.
but let's say, I mean, and this takes 15 to 20 minutes to put together. All right. It's not something that can be mass produced and done quickly. But I am going to tell you this. A lot of these are going to get thrown away. But somebody is going to pick this up and say, whoa, 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 this guy's different. Okay. This is a lot of information. And this, this just isn't some postcard that somebody pulled out of, Canva and threw in some market stats or something like that. And, it's going to it's making a difference already. Okay.
Yeah, you had some early results that, I don't know if you want to share them now or share them later on, of the, you measure all the new listings coming to market. And you said that before you started this, you were what, less than 1%, 1%?
We were less than 1% of our database of the ones that got listed. We were less than 1% of the ones getting them. Now in 30 days, since we started the mailing, that's up to 6%. Now, is it all that? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, we're having conversation and we go to their house. Guess what they got?
Right. It's sitting on the table next to hopefully the keys and the copy of the warranty deed so that you can go ahead and sign the agreement.
Well, and then they're having the conversation. They say, I watched your bridge pricing video. I had never thought about that. Or I saw the lease back and the lease option. I never knew that you could do that. They're having those conversations. But on the ones that I've gone with, because I still go on a number of listing appointments with my agents to help them get them, because I think for me to be a good leader, I need to be doing some of these to be relevant. So I asked them the question. I said, well, tell me, are you getting our emails? Are you getting our market updates? Are you getting this? What are you talking about? I mean, they're not. Yeah. They're not our systems. I mean, I'm not talking about just Sierra, even my Monday morning coffee, some of them. No, we're not.
Well, because let's face it, I have a Gmail account that whenever I sign up for something and I know I'm going to get spammed, I use that Gmail account. Whenever I need to really get something that is important to me, I use a different account, right? I mean, I know a lot of people do something similar, so let's just face it, right? There's multiple emails. It's easy to get them out there. So, hey, just quick clarifying, couple quick questions coming through. Our buddy Barry, hi Barry, nice to see you.
Barry!
Out there.
My gosh, I haven't seen Barry in forever.
Wine country. So Barry, he said, what is your seller-centric solution right now? So he's asking, are you doing Fellow, HomeBot, iList? And I'm pretty sure you're talking about High Fellow, but why don't you just answer that one real quick?
Barry, we dropped HomeBot 110% because first off, the cost got too expensive for our database size. And they have their focus, their UI, their user interface focus is more to the mortgage industry.
Lenders.
And it hasn't really changed on the buyer or seller side in a long time. And it just doesn't have, it's clunky. And so we made the move to High Fellow, and I deleted my HomeBot account completely because what I didn't want to do is getting two conflicting things. So let me make it really clear. I am not an owner. I'm not an investor. I have no anything in High Fellow whatsoever. But right now, and somebody's going to come along and do it better than them. HomeBot did a great job. High Fellow came in and made it way better, the UI for the user and for us. And we're able to pull out more data. And they have they actually want to integrate with people like Sierra.
Right.
Whereas HomeBot had a beta. We had it, then they turned it off. So, and now they don't play nice. You're not going to get a HomeBot zap right now done for hardly anything unless you have somebody that really has a good relationship with them. And nothing against HomeBot. It's just they are more designed and geared and focusing on the mortgage side of the industry.
Sure. And then, the other side of it, so hopefully, Barry, that answers your question. It's High Flow. And then the other side of it was Sunshine is asking here is what types of postcards you're sending. And it's really not a postcard. I
would rather see a handwritten note card and if all you got, send a handwritten note card and a business card, but we send out a packet, and you guys have literally my entire playbook that I shared that you guys can share the link on. And we send them something that they know it took us time to put together, and it actually gives them data on their neighborhood. It's not an estimate on their house, but it talks about their neighborhood, and they can see trends. They can see a lot of different things. And also there's some things like our bridge pricing with a QR code. There is the whole, I can't sell my house, I don't know where I'm going, which is nothing more than our blog posts.
Right.
So we drive everything back to our Sierra site.
Right. And so just so that everyone knows, you're basically taking a market update report, similar to a market update report that has the directional accuracy of the current listings, the pending sales, as well as some recent solds, and you're sending that to them about the neighborhood.
We use a system. It's actually called, it's an Excel file. You can't use sheets, and you can't use the online Excel version because you have to use the macros. Ninja Selling, which is one of the older systems out there, Gary Kendall has a company that's called Focus First. And you do an export out of your MLS of 10 years of sales in a neighborhood. And it creates trend lines. And then it also creates scattergrams and some other, it's really cool. And I can assure you nobody else is using it. It's $50 a month.
Oh, wow.
And
it's called Focus First, right?
It's called Focus First, and it creates them. And that is our number one CMA. That's what we use to create the quick things for this. But then we also use it to go into some more in-depth pricing, because we found that it's more of a visual CMA versus what our MLS prints out, or Cloud CMA, or any of those providers. For us, it's, but it did force us, because I am anti-Microsoft, it did force us to have to get Microsoft Office 365, because you have to have a physical copy. You cannot use the cloud version.
Right. And just so you know, in case you guys are Mac users and you don't know about this, there's something called Parallels. You can actually run dual operating systems on your Mac, and you can actually then use Excel on your Mac in that environment. So anyway, just a little.
Oh no, it'll work on PC Excel too. I mean, it works Mac on PC or Mac.
Mac Excel. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Go back. There you go. All right. So we did just drop Buddy's link, the link to the playbook there in the actual chat. So if you guys want to pull it up and take a look, you can go there. So, all right. So then let's see. So we were talking then about, now that you've done this is all just day one, right? This is the launch of the program. They've shown interest, in the actual, in the evaluation. You then send them out this packet on day one. Then what happens? That's it. You're done. You call them.
Oh no, that's just the beginning. I mean, we got to find out where their head is. Something makes people look like, especially if somebody looks at a home value 3 or 4 times, or if they've got multiple properties in it, they're looking at all the different properties. Something makes these people do that, something in life. So day one, we got a lot of stuff happening. We're making a phone call. We're creating this packet. We're mailing this packet. All right. And then the next day, we actually take the same exact packet, and we use Loom.
Right. Before you get there. So when you call them on day one, what are you saying there? We sent you a packet. Keep an eye out for it. What's the message?
We'll role play it. Hey, Scott, ring, ring.
Hello, this is Scott.
Hey, Scott, this is Buddy over at Coldwell Banker. I just wanted to follow up and wanted to make sure that you got that request that you had. That market evaluation you had requested earlier.
Oh, the one online, you mean?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you got it, because so many of our things are getting caught in email filters, and I just didn't want you to think I dropped the ball. Did you get it?
I think we did. I just have to go back, check that email account that I used to log up for that and see if it's in there, but I think we got it.
Well, Scott, great, because what I really am looking for is a new system we're using. It's powered by AI, like everything else. I really wanted you to take a look at it, and because I haven't seen your house. I really want you to take a look at it and give me your feedback on what you think about the value and the report about the accuracy of it, because I'm trying to decide if it's a system that I want to be able to use with folks and tie my name to.
So number one, I love that, is you're asking them to do you like a small favor and to evaluate what they think of this new version of this AI generated
I
valuation.
did, and notice what I didn't ask them. Are you thinking about selling your house?
No, never came up.
Because guess what? If they are, guess what's going to happen?
They'll ask.
They'll ask.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so that's the day one. Now, do you mention anything about the packet that you've sent them at that point?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't, because the reason is that would destroy my day 7.
Okay. Okay.
But all right, so let's go to day 2, means that I didn't get them on the phone, or they may not have a phone number, or it may be a bad phone number. So day 2, I've got their email address. I take the same report, because we save it as a PDF. We go through and we use Loom with our picture, and we just do about a 3 to 5 minute review of what it is. And we send that not through Sierra, not through Gmail, not through anything else. We share that through the Loom system.
Okay.
Because their open rate is not, it's not being blocked by anybody, much like Adobe's isn't. Like, we share a lot of things we share through Adobe system now, like a PDF or something that we want to send. We will send it through theirs because everybody loves Adobe. So we're sending it through these other systems. So we hit share and we put a little note and say, hey, just want to make sure you got this report.
So let me ask you, is that report a generic, is that Loom video that you've sent, is it a generic Loom video you recorded, or do you do one?
No. Generic don't work. No. Just like this same old postcard thing mess don't work. You have to invest some time in it, and they have to know you invested time and personalize it. No, it's me going page for page with my picture. And it's like, hey, I just wanted to make sure you understood what I'm sending you. I sent this out to you. I want to make sure you got it. I'm going to follow up with you. And I set the tone in the Loom, just in case they do watch it. I just want to let you know, Scott, I'm going to follow up in about a week and make sure you got it, because I don't necessarily trust email, and I certainly don't trust U.S. Postal Service. So that sets the tone. Now, they watch a lot of these. Do they watch all 3 minutes of it or all of it? No, they don't. But there's an expectation created. And if they don't watch it, that's okay. I got nothing to lose. And I will tell you, the other thing is, it will make you a whole lot better realtor on the phone and on video just by going through these exercises. And when you do this enough, you're going to know your market better too.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? There's a learning, you're actually learning there because you're looking at all the data to be able to then talk about it when you're doing the Loom videos. And I guess you could use a BombBomb or some other version of the video.
Yeah, BombBomb will work fine. I love BombBomb. I've loved it for years, but right now Loom for me is the cheapest, easiest, and it's the easiest screen recorder. And it's got a way that you can, block out information if you want it. And plus, you can put a call to action button on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So that's day 2. You've gone ahead and done the video. You've sent them that. What else goes on?
All right. Day 7. We've not heard anything from them. Day 7 is a phone call, and it's a real simple phone call. It's, hey, Scott, did you get? That's been our go-to forever. We send a business card, whatever we've always done. I'm not calling about selling a house. I'm not calling you about buying a house. I'm not trying to sell you a loan. Scott, did you get the package I sent you?
Correct.
Just checking in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got a relationship at this point. It's not to the point you trust me yet, but I'm not the ordinary agent right now. And that either I have nothing else to do on earth or I'm on the ball working. And their other agents aren't doing this. I don't know another agent doing this at a high level.
Right.
It's hard, clunky, and I can't do 50 of these a day.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that. So, I mean, I know you have a team, and I know there's leverage. So what would you say right now you're cranking out as an organization? How many of these are you requiring your guys to do, or your team to do? 5 a day, 3 a day? What's your strategy on that?
I'm not tracking what my others are doing, but I know personally I'm doing probably 6 or 8 of these a day right now, because I'll go through, like High Feller has a thing where you can go through and you can see the most recent activity. If I've got nobody that pops up in my Sierra filters that we've got designed, I'll go to High Fellow and see who's clicking and whatnot, and just create a pack, email it to them. I've got a nice, beautiful template in Sierra that I'll drop in, and I copy the Adobe link through Adobe, and I just copy that right on. Just says click here to open the report.
Yeah. So if I'm doing my math right, and again, I'm a recovering realtor myself, right? So if you do 40 a week and you do 50 weeks, so you could potentially be sending out 2,000 of these throughout the year.
Well, there's also those days I don't do any. So, I mean, and we're teaching our agents to use it. The biggest thing I'm trying to do is get them to learn the Focus First software. It's not hard, but it's one more system to do. And it's really like going backwards, going to Excel. And, but it has such a visual impact that it makes customers, my wife says, well, I don't understand that. And I said, I know, I don't want you to understand it. I just I want you to look at it and like, wow, that's something. If I'm interested, I need to ask some questions on this.
Right. Hopefully it gets them to pick up the phone. So, all right. So then that's day 7, right? Which is, did you get, is the quote of the script there, fill in the blank. And then what's the best case? What's next if they don't respond or you can't get them?
We start mailing out our post sheets, and we just put them in a folded in a number 10 envelope, personal hand, our call to action sheets. And it's going to be like the bridge pricing. It's going to be, there's various, whatever our call to actions. And the reason I like doing those with the QR codes and a picture of me in it is because if it's a local person, I've built my brand pretty well here. But if it's one of my other agents, and they go out, even on a listing appointment, or if they get this mailer, I get the chance to talk to this person. Now, they get the choice to scan it or not, but it gives me an opportunity to talk to them in a personal way versus being there at their own time and their own choosing. It's kind of like a webinar. I sign up for almost every webinar I can, not to be there at the webinar time, but to get the recording so that on my time, I can do it.
Yes, right. And that's true for, I think, a lot of people, right? Some can make it live, but a lot of people join and watch the replay. So for sure. So let's go ahead and roll. This is kind of going to maybe go into our part 2 of what we're going to talk about. I do want to talk about some of the bridge loans and the bridge strategies and the things that we talked about earlier, or, the things that you were talking about earlier. But roll our poll question number 2 really is, what is the most common objection you all are getting from sellers right now, right? So is it, I don't know where I would move to? Is it, I'm afraid my house won't sell? Is it interest rates are too high for when I buy? I don't want to move twice. I mean, so everyone just go ahead and take a minute there and we'll get some ideas of what the objections that most of us are getting here on the call. So buddy, what do you find it? What's coming up in your world?
Well,
what people are saying.
Well, the last 3 months of last year, pretty much it was quiet. Nobody was talking about anything because the rates were just so jacked up. We're not getting the rate objection as much as we were because lives go on, and you can only hold your foot on the brake for so long if in a life change event. The number one thing that we have a problem is right now is I need to sell my house, but I don't know where I'm going. And then the other side of that domino is I found a house I want, but I'm scared to put my house on the market because I don't know when it'll sell and I don't know if I can get this house.
Okay.
So chicken or the egg. So, we're not getting now that we've got interest rates, VAs and things like that, depending on who you got with 5s and 6s in the front of it again. That's the magic number. As soon as you get to a 5 in the front of anything, I feel like that's the point at which that moves people.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the historical average going back to the 1970s and you took the line of mortgage rates and drew it right down the middle of the median, I mean, 5.5% is been pretty standard from an interest rate. We've been very spoiled for the last several years, with the interest rates dipping into the 2s and the 3s and the 4s. So this is kind of back to more of a reality.
Well, and you got to open the, a lot of it, like my listing, if I go on a listing, first thing I'm going to do is sit down in your living room and we're going to have a conversation about, Scott, talk to me about what's going on. What do you want to do here? And then you walk through it and, okay, well, understand, we got a few options here. We can put your house on the market, and we can tell folks that we never insist, because we get a chance to turn that down on the offer, that we would like to be able to either do what's in North Carolina, every state's different, as you well know, a seller possession or a rent back, or what we've been doing is something a little different, which is an option to rent it back. Because
so explain that a little bit, because I think that's pretty creative.
Well, the standard thing is in North Carolina, it's called seller possession after closing, where you agree up front to rent it back for 2 months, 3 months, whatever.
Well, it's got to be, I think it's about to be less than 60 days, at least.
Well,
because
that's it. That's right? If there's no less than 60 days if it's a mortgage.
Right. That's what I meant. When there's a loan in place, I think there's something with the mortgage. Yeah.
The buyer now that has nothing to do with the seller. The buyer's signing a piece of paper that says they intend to occupy within 60 days. But we have a lot of cash transactions in our world just because they're selling something from somewhere else, the Northeast, moving to the coast. But so let's say you do this. Like we just had a scenario. I had both scenarios happen. A lady is going to be moving into a assisted living, and it's going to be ready in April. But another agent said, well, you don't want to put your house, and we knew it would sell fast. We don't want to put your house on the market until, March, so that you can time this thing right. And this was January, or early January. I said, no, I'd do it now. And we'll just ask for a lease back, because we have a definite time that you know where you're going. We just got to get you there. And we find the same thing with new construction being built. So we found somebody, seller possession after closing on it. We got it negotiated up front, because if you don't negotiate that up front, you're not coming back and getting that land.
Right.
So, but now here's scenario number 2. Expensive home. People knew they wanted to sell, and they knew they needed the money out of it. And they knew no seller on the world without their house under contract would consider an offer.
Right. And no one's going to take a contingency is basically what you're saying.
All they knew is the town they were moving to. That's it. But they didn't even want to fall in love or start shopping until their house was under contract. So I said, okay, guys, let's do this. This is not a standard document. We'll get an attorney. I have an attorney. We prepared something that's called the option to execute a rental agreement, which is the same thing, except up until the end of what we call the due diligence period in North Carolina, the seller has the right to execute a rental agreement for X amount of days, X amount of time. These people, after 1 week, their house under contract while they're getting inspected, they went, and this was going to cost them $6,000 because it was 2 months at $3,000 a month. So they went that first week, they found a house, a new construction, and actually a builder that would let them move in a few days early, which I would never encourage.
Right. Pre-closing, you're saying, right?
But here's the thing. So we never executed it. Okay. We never executed the rental agreement. So got to closing. You're going to love this. The CD comes out. The settlement statement comes out. I get a call from the other agent, the buyer's agent, says, well, there's no $6,000 for rent on here. And I told him, I said, we notified you we weren't executing that rental agreement during the timeline.
Right, because it was an option.
So there was never anything agreed to for the $6,000. I don't know how that conversation went between that person and his buyer, but I doubt it went pretty well.
Right.
It was all upboard, all straightforward. Sure. The close, and we use a closing attorneys in North Carolina, so everybody saw it, and the closing attorney said, "Yeah, that's right."
Right.
I mean, I didn't represent the buyer; I represented the seller. So the seller saved $6,000 because they didn't think they were going to find somewhere.
Yeah, but they had a peace of mind. So what this option did, and this is why I think this is a great strategy, is so 2 things. One, it gave them peace of mind that if they didn't find a house, they really had 30 days to find a house, because then they needed 30 days for closing, etc. Right? Then the other thing it did was it got them off the mark. It moved them off the fence to move forward.
Well, they were either going to do that or wait till spring.
Right.
So we got the listing, because I told them, I said, listen, if we wait till spring, especially with the rates likely falling, everybody and their brother's coming out of the market because everybody's had their foot on the brake for 2 years. So you're going to be one of many. And not only that, and this, if you've got people that are on the fence, sellers, you're going to be one of many, but you're going to be fighting a tremendous amount of national home builders who can do things and offer incentives that you cannot do.
Yeah, very true, right? So, hey, I just want to make sure we get to this. Let's go ahead and take a look if our poll results are ready from the second poll, just to see what our audience is out there. So it looks like right now, 30% said, I don't know where I would move to. 10% says, I'm afraid my home won't sell. 40% still that interest rates are too high when I buy. And then I don't want to move twice was 20%. So those were our poll results there. Interesting. Like, I think there is probably a little bit about people don't know what the interest rates or they don't follow them as closely as we do. And, there was some huge drops, especially, towards the end of December, with the Fed and the announcements of them taking 3 cuts throughout the year. Some people think it's going to be 6. So, maybe a good message is to maybe just drop your seller pool an update and say, hey, today, if you were to buy a home, interest rates are hovering in the 5.5 to 5.75%, interest rate. Does this change things?
Well, now here comes the fear factor for me and for our industry is if interest rates drop much more any sooner, prices are going to go up again.
Yeah.
So we're going to be really, we're going to push this unaffordability even more. So really, as sad as this sounds, if they had sat there for 7 and 8% for a couple of years, it probably would have been a better thing for the long-term housing market than what's happening. But
because the prices would have moderated, is what you're saying.
Prices would begin to moderate. That's exactly right. But now, because we're starting to see, not like it was, but I mean, we're starting to see some multiple offers again. We're starting to see people sell their houses to their neighbors on Facebook group again. So, I mean, we're starting to see that stuff again.
Yeah, it happens in our neighborhood all the time. Drives my wife nuts. But hey, you know what? If she's probably not doing what she needs to do, right? And being
well, if you're a seller and you found somebody to do it, I mean, come on, put yourself in their shoes.
I hear you. All right, so we talked a little bit about the lease back. Do you ever
now hold on? Let me preface that, Scott. You need to talk to an attorney in your state. I don't speak for Don't say Buddy Blake said that. You need to have an attorney involved. Yeah.
Well, very clear. So then, do you ever use the buy before you sell programs? Have you ever incorporated any of the, and again, I'm just going to say like Homeward or the Knox. I don't know if those are in your markets. Have you ever done with those?
We've toyed with it a few times, like Ribbon and some of the others, but we just never got traction because it just got so confusing. But no, not to a high level. I mean, we stayed tried and true. Then it's the simplest we can keep it, the better. And no, the answer is no. I mean, we've bought houses so people can move. Some of our builders that we work with, we've gone in and bought houses because I'll make them comfortable enough that they're not going to make money on it, but they won't lose money. It's just the person just wanted to move once and was scared to do it. If it's, if it's a neighborhood we never going to sell, I don't make any money. The builder's not making any money, but you made a sale happen when they weren't happening.
Right. It got the wheel moving forward.
Right.
Was that catalyst to kind of get it moving forward.
Right.
Well, cool. Well, what else did we miss as far as the strategies and anything else? And if there's any questions that you guys haven't already asked, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll make sure to ask them here to Buddy. So is there any other takeaways that you want to leave our audience with today?
I think you need to go through your Sierra database and you need to look at every single e-alert. And you need to go back in and understand that there's an awful lot of them that were auto unsubscribed because there was nothing to send out and 12 months has gone by. Just the way it works. They all work that way.
Yep, it's great.
So you need to go back and expand that. And then you need to just make it a practice to, I'm sorry, business cards and postage needs to be a big part of your budget again. Sorry. Just look them up in Forewarn, do whatever. Get a business card in their hand because I can assure you no other agents aren't because you can't scale it and you can't do it. I can't automate it. And that's as old school as you can get, but old school wins every time in relationships.
Yeah, and you know, you can't scale it, but you don't need that many wins to make this worthwhile. I mean, you know, if
Not
you
with the prices the way they've gone up.
right, I mean, if your
Yeah.
sales price is, you know, 500,000, 600,000, I don't know what it is in each everyone's market tuning in, but you know, the median sales price, you know, is approaching what, 4.25, 450. I can't remember exactly what the latest one was, but I mean, you know, that's 12 to 15,000 commission for sending out a couple CMAs and some personal, you know, database or certain, you know, customized data about their markets or about their neighborhoods.
Well, I just think that whatever it is, you got to figure a way to be top of mind as often as possible so that when people make that decision, and you need to realize people are on their own timeline, they're not on your timeline, you know, and there's no way to say, well, this frequency is what you need to do. This frequency is what you need to do. You need to build some frequency that you can do on a regular basis, whatever that is. It's different for everybody, but we're so much in a life change mode now. People move because of life change. People aren't moving now just because they're bored
Right.
or because they can get a deal, because there's no deals out there, and they're not getting a deal on the interest rate. So they're moving because they need to now, not because they want to.
Right. We say it's one of the D's, right? Like I think you talked about it earlier. It's the deaths, it's the diapers, it's the diamonds, it's the destitutes, it's the keep going, right? There's tons of those D's that all relate to the reasons why people have to leave. So totally understand. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I enjoyed this thoroughly. I've learned a lot, and I know, you know, it's not as sexy as, you know, leveraging your business with the top tactics of AI, right? I mean, but this brass tacks of getting back to, you know, sending out these little mini CMAs and sending them and being in their life, like you say, I mean, is I think your phrase, I love it. I wrote it down, it's the proof of life, right? To give these sellers that you're there and proof of life is really the ultimate strategy to
Well, and I don't want to say that the automations and stuff aren't a part of it. I mean,
sure.
I hammer y'all's system. I mean, I press it to the limit in every place I can as far as automations, and I try third party things all the single time, and I believe in them. But that is not what is going to win the day. That is only to get you down the road and hopefully get you to hopefully be on the table and on the green to be able to play ball.
Right. Just to get that notification that they raised their hand. That's really
Yep.
what you're looking for. So
Yep.
wonderful. Well, thanks, buddy. This has been amazing. Thanks for joining us here today and sharing this information. We did drop the link there so people can go ahead and take a look at the playbook. And then we'll be back here in 2 weeks. And so if you found this helpful, definitely tell your friends, share this with them so they can register for our series. And then if you have any feedback for topics or anything else that you want to see in the future, you can shoot that to the hello@sierrainteractive.com. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.